how would you describe the coming-ins and going-outs of the Taylor administration during those last days? Was there a sense of paranoia? Can you speak to that? On the part of Mr. Taylor or on the part of his officials who perhaps fear that, it was all over?
I mean, in terms of the events after June 4th or the events leading to June 4th?
Well, maybe perhaps to throw better light, you could include the period immediately preceding June 4th and the period afterwards up to the point of departure.
Okay, let me just refresh your memory. Again, on May 31st, 2003, we left this country with a plane load of people, including civil society and others, to go to Accra to construct a peace. And that peace would have made a determination in terms of where we go as a nation, in terms of leadership, and the impending doom with rebel forces lured and model engulfing the country. So we went there on May 31st. And on the morning of June 4th, if you can remember, and prior before that, Mr. Taylor had indicated that he would now run for re-election. Okay? But again, Mr. David Krahn decided that he wanted to make Mr. Taylor irrelevant in the peace process. Again, foreign forces manipulating the Liberian political process again. So Mr. Krahn announced this, or rather unsealed the indictment against Mr. Taylor. And Mr. Taylor, as you know, had to come back to Liberia for two reasons. For one reason, to ensure that the negative fallout from his capture or arrest or what have you in Ghana, it would have been, because there would have been no leadership, there would have been a vacuum. So we stayed in Ghana. Okay, I stayed in Ghana because, but then now, the rebel forces, if you can remember, had attacked places very near to the city of Monrovia. And I was not going to jeopardize my life, my liberty, and my limb to come to Monrovia. So I decided that I would play the role that I could best play, given the talents that I best have, which is ability to talk, and ability to speak, and ability to convince people. That's why I took to the airwaves. If you remember, William, the first interview I did was when Mr. Taylor was done with Kofi by his name Kwaku Asiado, when Mr. Taylor was walking towards the plane, and he got on the plane and he took off. Then we were asked, because at that time now, briefly left in charge because I believe that Mr. Brown and the other people, like Mr. Snow and others, had come back to Monrovia. So for a brief period, I took charge of media relations. And in taking charge of that, I had to say something to give encouragement to people in Liberia. And I talk about not giving vent to our pugnacity because of the involvement of this David Krahn in internal affairs of Liberia. And I said I would be crafting a peace in Accra that will lead to a new dispensation and that all of us will be able to live in Liberia. And that was my start of my involvement in this process. And I believe we performed extremely well because we achieved all of our objectives, including crafting a Accra Comprehensive Peace Agreement, doing a ceasefire. Don't forget, ceasefire first. We had a ceasefire first. And we had a ceasefire in demarcated areas where there were no-go areas for the troops. And then we also had to do what? Make sure there were an intervention force to separate the warring sides. And the third thing was to have an orderly exit, okay, and to bring in a new government. And we achieved all those objectives. Now, so you can question my motivation, Brother Stewart, for joining Mr. Taylor in 2002.
Not your motivations. I'm just asking whether there was a sense of apprehension, fear, foreboding, and asking whether you can describe.
I think people were courageous. People were courageous. People were courageous for the following reason. Because, look, the people of Liberia were on attack. Not Charles Taylor. Charles Taylor was at White Flower. The people were dying were innocent women and children, infants that didn't have access to the medicine, didn't have access to anything, and the bodies were piling up, and there was a potential conflagration. So people showed courage. I remember seeing people like Daniel Chair on TV with little or no ammunition, trying to keep the forces back at the bridge. So they showed courage. They show a lot of courage. Now, you can say to me, well, these people, the NPFL people, they deserve what came to them. But then that's moral relativity. Because if you say what Charles Taylor did was wrong in 1996, when he Alhaji Kromah, by attacking defenseless women and children in Monrovia and causing a conflagration, and in 1989 and 1990, then you have to denounce Lord and Model and what they were doing in 2003. You can't have it both ways. And people want to have it both ways in this country, have the cake and eat it too. The same thing that happened today. These are Taylor people. Don't get them nothing. Let them starve, let them die. These are Lord people, other children that were killing us. When are you going to stop having this moral relativity on your radar? When are you going to do something that will be a moral imperative for everything? If you denounce Taylor in 1990, you must denounce Lord in 2003. But those people who denounced Taylor in 2003 did not denounce Lord in 1990, did not denounce Lord and Model in 2003. But guess what they did, Jamoya? When we were at Accra, we were pariahs. Taylor people standing in the line to eat. I saw the faces of people. Okay, they look at you like you were from another planet, that you were not a Liberian, and they were having the Lord and Model people eat before you. I got my witness right there, Louis, that. So much so that I left M Plaza. I moved away from M Plaza. I went to one of my friends, I got a motel, because there was a circus atmosphere. And then seeing the political and civil society people doing what? Upon the blood of people lobbying for position. I didn't take a position after 2003 in the interim administration because I did not want to be part and parcel, okay, of sharing the spoils of war. I refused to be part of that. And at one time, I can tell you, they were planning to form a junta, Lord, Model, and NPFL. But there's a young man here, and there's Daniel Chair that said, hell no! They were announcing on a Monday when they were about to cross that bridge, what they call the Saxon Street Bridge. They were going to bring a junta to Monrovia and say, this is what we decided. We said, over our dead bodies. No junta going to Monrovia. No Lord, no Model, no NPFL, in fact, GOL going. And we fought them, the forces, and we, together with some senior members of civil society, crafted an Accra Comprehensive Peace Agreement that can be a model for the interventionist approach into conflict resolution in Africa. We did that, and we should be applauded for that.